Hello, everybody. Rod, you already have that smile. I can see you backstage. Something was going on. Welcome in, everybody. Mr. Rod, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. How about
I'm
you?
excited for today. We're going to be good.
What
We're
are
going to be
you?
diving into, and I don't even think I told you what we were going to be doing, Rod, which is even more fun. But basically, we're going to dive into how we look at markets for real estate media. So, what we sent out, I would imagine we have a lot of people in here who are either beginners or are thinking about starting. And so, we're just going to dive into like what we look for and what makes the potential for a city to have a good real estate media market and like things to look at. We'll talk a little bit about population, sales prices, average sales price, how many listings are happening, as well as competition. So, should be a pretty good one. I see some more experienced people in here as well, probably just coming to hang out. So what I'd love for you all to do, first of all, in the chat here, comment where you're at in your business. Like if you're just starting, you're thinking about starting, everything like that, drop that in the chat. Let's start with that, and then we'll go from there. We got to get a little sparkling water going at the start here. I apologize for the poor audio. I don't know how it's coming through.
Man, I don't have any water. Hold on. It's okay.
You got to get some. It's quite unfortunate.
Man.
So comment that, and it'll just give us a ballpark. And then somebody also comment your market that you're in, especially if you're newer and wondering. I'm going to go through live kind of what we look at to give you an idea of how you can kind of do the research for your market. So, okay, Wilmington, North Carolina. That's probably one we'll start with. I think that's a good one. So a couple things we look for from like a heads up view that I'll talk about, and then I'll show you how to find some of this. So number one, you want to look at population as kind of the first metric. So you want to look up the population of the city you're in, but if you just look up like Wilmington, North Carolina population, it's going to show you within the city limits. So to get an accurate view, you want to look for like a 30 to 50 mile radius around that city. It's sometimes called like the greater statistical area, like GSA is I think what they call it. But one of the ways that we do it makes it really easy is you can just ask ChatGPT exactly what you want to know. So I'm going to screen share here and kind of show you the questions I'm going to ask, and then you can confirm this. Usually GPT is right, but I just like to look at another source too sometimes. So let me find my screen here. Where has it gone? There it is. Okay. Share. All right. So I'm going to look up what is the population of Wilmington? I spelled it wrong, but it'll still work. North Carolina and surrounding, let's say 40 miles. Rod, you can see this, right?
Yes. Looks
Okay,
good.
cool. I can only see GPT. Okay, so there it is. The Metropolitan Statistical Area, or sometimes they call it Greater Statistical Area, has a population of 467,000. The city of Wilmington's 122. So you can see how if you just look up your city, it can be very misleading, especially if you're in a suburb. So like if you look up, I'll use DFW as an example, Dallas-Fort Worth, where we are. If you look up the population of Cleburne or Burleson or like one of these smaller cities that's in the bigger area, it's going to give you an incorrect view of the population. And so what we're looking for generally as the first threshold is a 50,000 or more population within that 30 to 50 mile radius. Now, that doesn't mean if you're less than 50,000, it's not going to work. It just means you might have to explore a little bit of other options. You might say, hey, am I in a small area that sure, there's not a lot of population, but there's a ton of vacation rentals or something like that? Or am I 30 minutes from a major city? You just have to get a little bit more flexible. So the first test is the population. And I'll look up some of your specific cities in a second. But the next thing we're going to look up is how many listings, just to get an idea of the market size. So how many properties spelling is good today, were listed for sale in that area roughly during 2024. And sometimes it can't pull this. There's other sites you can look at if you look up like real estate data in your city, and it's always going to tell you it's challenging, but it's going to give you an idea. So Wilmington real estate market had 1,000 homes for sale. That doesn't really tell us, so it's not really helping. So now what we're going to do, I think I'm going to have to share another window here. Let me pull that up. We're going to have to look up like one of the actual real estate reports. So let me check this down and pull up the real estate report. So Wilmington, North Carolina real estate data. Okay, let me share again here. It's even more challenging when I'm not my normal setup. Okay, stop screen share. Present. We're almost there, guys. Bear with me. Share screen, window. Okay. So this is usually a good one. The Redfin one, it's just different in every market. So you can kind of look at this. So let's find listing. Let's see if it has it. Doesn't always. And then let's
What
look.
about Rocket Homes? Is that
Rocket
one?
Homes
Is
a
that
good
is
one.
there?
What we need to figure out first is what county. What county is Wilmington?
Your spelling is beautiful.
New, it's
Look at that.
something else today. Okay, New Hanover County. New Hanover County, NC. And then we're going to type in real estate data. And let's see if we can find. You like the Rocket Money one?
I always put in Rocket. I like the way it's easier for me to read it. I think they changed their.
I know it's not the
interface
same in every
recently.
market though. Oh yeah, here you go. Rocket.com. Okay, let's see if it shows it.
Yeah, they changed
Okay.
the way it looks recently, didn't they?
So let's look at this while we're at it. Median sold price, 454,000. So what that tells us is the median US home sales price right now is about 400,000. So we're in a slightly higher than normal home price market, which is good. It doesn't mean because you're lower or higher, there's necessarily a huge advantage either way. But when you are higher, you should be able to push your average order value a little higher. You know, agents are paid a commission that's a percentage of the sales price. And so they theoretically have more marketing budget if the homes are selling for more on average, which we've seen to be true, especially if you look at the extremes. If you look in a really cheap area with like $150,000 home price, you can still build a real estate media business there, $150,000 home price, but you're going to sell a lot less video. Whereas you look in South Florida, like in Miami, it can be like millions of dollars for average home price, depending on the pocket that you're in. And so they almost always spend a lot on marketing. And so you kind of look at that, but let's look at the, and whether it's buyers or sellers market really doesn't matter too much for real estate media people.
Yeah, right there. That's the yeah.
That's the number of homes for sale active.
Right below it. The row sold and then listed.
They don't have like a, where's the listed? It's not on this one.
Wait, I think it was up a little bit.
Was it?
Number of homes for sale.
Yeah, that doesn't really tell you the full metric because you're looking at, let's see if we can find, and it's different for every market. It's so funny how the data is displayed.
Usually for me, when I'm going through this with people on calls too, it's like, you know, I'll start with population, and if I'm like a little concerned, I'll look at another thing, and if I'm like a little concerned, I'll look at another thing. But at any point, I'm like, I feel good.
Yeah,
so
and you
far,
know,
so far mathematically, it's been good. So, yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can just, for the sake of this one, I want to find like actually the data. So if we can find it. It'll show you. You just sometimes have to search like more sites to figure it out. I would say you definitely need to do this though if you're in a really small market. Like we know for a fact that a market with 400,000 people is plenty, but I want to find the amount of listings that are coming on. We can kind of do some math on how many are selling. So we'll do that for this one, but you can't just calculate a number of homes for sale because those homes are sitting for a while. So if we look at this, 268 sold last month. So that probably means, you know, depending on how many don't sell, it's probably 20%. So it's about 300 homes. And you can multiply that by an average order value of $275 and kind of gives you a ballpark that there's roughly $80,000 a month in real estate media potential in that specific area that we looked up. Right now, anybody that's saying you can get all of those or that all of them are being professionally shot is not telling the truth, right? So like you're not going to get all of that
single
business.
one.
Yeah, you're going to get 100% market share. So that's not, you know, just reasonable to look at, right? So let's say hypothetically, let's see if we can find someone with a really small city. So comment in the chat if you're from a city with like low population where we have to do a little bit more research. That would be great.
And like thinking about it, I remember one of my few conversations I had with someone where I was like, look, you might have to move, was where they were 2.5 hours outside of Albuquerque.
Yeah, they're in the middle of New Mexico. We looked at that. You and I looked at that one together. I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But they said they were okay to drive 2.5 hours into town to do shoots. I'm like, I just, you know, I gave them the option. Like that's the option. They ended up saying like that might have been too tough, but that was the only time I saw it was like really tough. And then some spots in Nova Scotia in Canada, just some spots that were really small. There were some other the other time that I found that it was too small, but roughly everywhere else you can get creative everywhere else.
We found a good one that might be it's like a good lower end test. So I did, you can see my screen, right, Rod?
Yes.
Okay, so Richmond, Indiana, someone commented in the chat. The population is 35,000. So that is below 50,000. That's definitely in the area we want to check. So first thing we're going to do is let's see what county is Richmond Indiana in. Let's look at the county. Okay, so it's Wayne County. And then you guys won't be able to see my GPT, but I'm pulling it up again. What is the population of Wayne County, Indiana? Let's see what that is. Just give us a ballpark. 66,000. So it's fairly light. So now what we want to do is start looking at homes for sale. You can still see where it says Wayne County in my mouse, right, Rod?
And can you go to Richmond on the map again over in Google on the left tab over there that you have? And then can you scroll out a little bit slowly? Keep going, keep going. Like that's when I start to figure out like, okay, this is when I look when I'm looking at a map, I'm like, okay, how far are you from Indianapolis?
How far are you from Dayton?
Yeah. How far are you from Dayton? And then I'll start to look at those things. And then if they're starting, there's like a little bit of runoff they'll get usually from Indianapolis. So like if someone's like, no, it's an hour and a half away, but I drive there all the time.
Then you can do that. Yeah,
that sounds good. If someone's like, heck no, I'm not driving an hour and a half. All right, let's get creative with Dayton. So usually I'll look at the map and I'll scroll out and look for cities that have bigger font. And that's it. Yeah, that's just more population.
I'm looking right now what the distance is from Dayton downtown to Richmond downtown. So you can see too, Dayton, Ohio to Richmond.
It could be 3 hours. I mean, sometimes map.
This is a perfect example though. It's 51 minutes.
See, so like,
let's say hypothetically, I forget who asked this question. Otherwise I would use your name. But let's say this person was like, we're going to look in Richmond and see in the area. But the reality is we know there's a big city, Dayton, Ohio, that's 51 minutes away. And so if you were like, hey, I really want to build a real estate media business and you're in a super small area, sometimes you just have to get creative and be like, well, maybe I guess I'm going to shoot in Dayton a lot. Yeah, you have a longer drive at the start of the day, but then you're in Dayton. You can shoot houses while you're there. And so let's look up. Let's just see.
This is actually a very good example, actually.
That's like a perfect example of
Richmond, Indiana, right? Okay.
Richmond, Indiana. Yeah. Is that what I put? Was it Indiana? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can look on Zillow and like, let's just see. This is another test I do. Like, are there real estate, media shoots being done in this area? So we can look at this. Looks like the home prices are probably fairly low because it's, in Indiana, it's not known for being super expensive.
Not to knock anyone's work. Everyone's work is beautiful, but some of those pictures there are looking like, they might need some help.
I think this might be the only professional.
Yeah, I feel good either way. If there's really bad photos, then I might be able to help some agents out with to get some good ones. If there's a lot of really good photos, then there's a market for it. Either way, we're getting it. It's fine.
It is, and it's just a different approach, right? Like the nice thing about, so this looks like a town where there's not a lot of real estate media. There's some, but it looks like a lot of agents are taking their own photos. So what this means, like Rod was saying, I'm going to go a little more in depth on it. That's not just us being optimistic. It's saying like in any market, you just have to figure out what your strategy is going to be, right? And that's something that I'm not just trying to plug coaching here, but that's something we help you with in coaching. Like, what's it going to be for you? So in this market, we know that there's not a lot of professional photographers. So what that means is that if we're able to break into that market and we're able to get some of the agents using us, the thing we like about real estate agents that everybody knows is when one agent does something, the other ones watch because they're all competitors, right? So if Jeff in this city starts all of a sudden having great listing photos, guess what the other agents do? They start having great listing photos, but you're the only vendor around or one of the only ones, so you get the business. That's the strategy for that kind of market, like we're looking at here. The strategy for a busier market is, well, we already know everybody hires professionals, so we don't need to convince anybody, right? We just need to convince them to use us. And so then we're going to do a lot more stuff talking about service and the ways we're different versus why they should do real estate media. And so there's, unless you're truly in the middle of, we were looking at, I'll remove the boundary and we can look at it for fun. Let's see. The button is right behind where it needs to be. Okay. So
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave, by the way. They're calling me. They're saying I'm lying in the chat, so it's fine.
Oh,
Dave's got my back.
That's good. I forget where that person was, Rod, but I remember they were far from Albuquerque. They were there's a lot of Indian reservation land where there's just not a lot for sale. What's that, Rod?
Yeah, it was quite far. Yeah, it was the roughest one I've seen.
Yeah, and so you have to just look from that perspective. Let's do this. Let's answer some questions about the process. What did Rod lie about? I'm curious.
Well, I have a question that I got from a person today. It was a good question. I get a good bit, and I just want to hear your take on it. But I'll usually get like someone's considering things, and they'll go, I talked to a family member friend of mine who's an agent, and they said it's a rough market right now, and good luck, basically. And they said that they still said, okay, well, thank you. And they're still optimistic about things. But I do get that a lot where someone will go talk to somebody and they hear from one agent and then almost like the they feel like that's like the view of the mini or anything. But like, what would you say in that
Yeah,
regard
yeah.
when you hear people bring that up back there?
No,
in
I realized you probably already knew this, but it was you complimenting the photos being nice that weren't good photos. That's what you're lying about. I like that. I was
yeah,
like, what is
being too nice. That's usually it.
So, okay, for that question, and also if anybody has any questions about specific markets or just questions about your market, feel free to put it in the chat. Happy to dive in specifically. So for the issue that Rod was bringing up, like you'll talk to somebody, if you ask a real estate agent how the real estate market is, they're answering from a real estate agent's perspective, right? And what that means is, if you think about that, how the transactions go. So a real estate agent wins a listing. That's step one. Step two is they start marketing the listing. Step three is they sell the listing, right? We help them with marketing the listing. Now, a lot of times, if it's a slow market, they get a listing, they hire us, 4 days later, we shoot the photos, we get paid, they list the house, and nothing happens for 6 months because nobody's buying, right? Hypothetically, in this scenario. Well, we still got paid. And so that's why if you ask a real estate agent how the market is, you don't get a fair view of it because they're only looking at how many houses they're selling. Versus us as real estate media professionals, we're looking at how many agents we can get in the market and how many listings those agents are doing. Listings, not sales, right? And so that's why it's important to look at listings in a market as a measure because we get paid when they list. It doesn't matter if they sell or not. Now, of course, we want them to sell because we want our agents to do well. We want the market to be good, but keep that in mind.
Yeah, they're calling me out for being too nice on those photos. Yeah, one of them had like a literal fence in front of a fence right in front of the lens. It looked like.
Listen, it's artistic.
I was saying that just in case that person's on here and they're like, "Oh, that's my photo." But the shot of that happening is it's got to be slim. So yeah, you caught me. You caught me.
He said your glasses look good though, so that's what matters.
Hey, is West ready? Is he hanging out?
He's here. Oh,
wait, kidding.
Right as okay, how does Southern California, Orange County look to you guys? So without even knowing, huge population, massive population, right? And also higher than average home prices. Let's just look. What is the average home sales price in?
You've seen people there say they got AOVs of what, 900,000? Yeah. I mean, and still doing volume and at a 900 or 1,000 AOV.
Oh my gosh. Mr. West and Rod, guess. Each of you get one guess. Don't cheat. What do you think the median sales price of a home is in San Diego?
1.2.
1.3.
950. So it's double.
I did LA prices, I think there. Whoops.
Yeah, probably. Mr. West, you missed it, but basically the average, I think the average home sale price in the US as a whole is 400K. So 950 is like 2.4 times. That's crazy.
It's a lot of work and a lot of.
You're in San Diego's way south. Where is he? Oh, Orange County. Okay, let's look up Orange County. We know Orange County is huge population wise, but let's just look it up. Orange County population. Sorry, I thought you said San Diego. That was my bad. That shows my California geographical knowledge. Okay, so Orange County has a 3.2 million population. What is average sale price there? Loading. Still loading. Okay, the median sale, it's more. As of December 2024, the median sales price for homes in Orange County, California is approximately 1.1 million. So to cut to valuable stuff for you, Marvin, you obviously are not going to have a problem with the number of homes. You're not going to have a problem with average order value. You're not going to have a problem with the amount of population. What is going to be where you have to focus is there's already going to be a lot of real estate photographers there. Now, don't let that scare you. Every market has real estate photographers. There's a ton of agents there too. So we talked about earlier the two things. You either have to convince agents why they should use professional photos or convince them why they should use you. And both convince is probably a strong word because a lot of times it's pretty easy. But just think about that side of things. Like you're going to have to distinguish yourself by providing better service and doing a lot of things we talked about, but you're not going to have a market problem. If that makes sense.
Can I pick a few? Oh yeah. I was about to pick a few, like the people, it's not necessarily questions, but some concerns in the chat with where they're at. And I think it's actually pretty good stuff to bring up. And I think you just picked one of them. So yeah, let's dive into those.
Pick them.
This one.
I'm concerned if I work at 15-mile radius around Leesburg, Virginia, I could be in danger of trying to get from Northern Virginia to DC and spreading myself too thin. Are you talking about just because of the way like the roads and traffic are in that area? I'm not super familiar with that geography specifically. 15 miles is a pretty small radius for a real estate photographer. So let's look up that Leesburg, Virginia. Let's just
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we can look that up too, because they were wanting us to look up that. I'm like, okay, let's do that
Leesburg
on a map. And maybe the concern is it traffic just going from one to the other.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the way I would look at it is, is that the DMV area? Is that what that's called? But I don't know. Either way, if you're in Leesburg, you're just going to be shooting DC. Like that's going to be where you do a lot of shoots. Now, maybe you start with agents on this side so it's closer to you. But my guess is an agent in DC, which obviously, like I know there's lots of different borders and states around here, but you're going to end up shooting in different states. That's just how it's going to work because the way DC is set up. So that's normal. That would be just your region. Like if you look at ours, for example, we shoot in the Dallas-Fort Worth area now. We started in Granbury. Dallas. Let me just type Dallas so it pulls up the map. So we have this. We actually started down here, and we were able to scale to like 30 to 40K a month just in Granbury. There's a lot of vacation rentals, stuff like that, lake houses. But anyway, when we pushed into this market, we just started more on the Fort Worth side, and then we now have grown in Dallas, and we have a lot of clients in Dallas. And so you got to look at where you are, and I can go back here to yours specifically. Oh, there it was. Let's go back here. This is just a region that you're going to shoot in, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't try to limit yourself too close to one area. Height and exposure. Let's see if they commented again. Man, there's been a lot.
You want to comment another one?
Congestion. Yeah, I mean that's just part of it. You know, a lot of big cities have that. I know it's potentially worse there, but you're just going to be shooting a lot in the DC area. Yeah, tag whatever you'd like, Mr. Rod.
There's a quick question right here. It's easy answer.
How old should you be? I mean,
Eli was 16.
I was 16. Yeah. You got to be, however it works. If you're under 18, you obviously need to have your parents involved because, you know, collecting money, doing that kind of stuff is a little challenging having an LLC when you're under that. So hopefully you have parents that are supporters of you being in business. And, you know, if not, they probably have their reasons, but, you know, ultimately you have to be able to get to a shoot. So if you're 16, you have your parents' permission and you got a driver's license, you're good. I started when I was 16. We had just moved to Texas when I first started, and I didn't have my driver's license yet because I had started the process in Alaska where I was from, and I had to go finish it there. So my mom drove me to my first handful of shoots. So if you have a cool mom, then you'll be good. But I made her park down the street because I didn't think she was that cool. I didn't want agents seeing that I was being dropped off by my mom. So anyway.
Did you share anything with her?
About the
money wise?
No, I had some goals. We needed some money. It's thankfully that she was just supporting at that point. So Destiny said the East Bay area is a great market, but I'm not sure how to stand out. So many outstanding creatives here, mom of 3, and worried about my small business. Won't get business because I'm a one-person team. Yeah, good question. Is East Bay, is that Bay Area, California? Where's East Bay? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but just curious. You always have to look at it this way. There's going to be a ratio, right? So like in a tiny city, there's less real estate photographers, but there's also less agents. And in a big city like Dallas-Fort Worth, where we serve, there's hundreds of real estate photographers. And there's not even just individuals. There's teams, there's individuals, there's other companies bigger than Norman and Young there, right? And we have a decent sized business there too. And so if you just look at a number of photographers out there, it's easy to get overwhelmed thinking, man, there's all these people, but you don't see the literally tens of thousands of real estate agents. And, you know, one photographer can only, like a solo photographer can really only serve like 100, maybe 150 clients. So if you think about an area like, you know, Dallas-Fort Worth or some of these other bigger cities, like where you're saying, you know, there may be 30, 40,000 licensed real estate agents there. That's a lot of photographers needed. So that's what I would think about when it comes to competition. But stepping back a little bit, when you're thinking about like, how do I compete? I'm just a one-person team. You always have to look like, if you're familiar with game theory at all, it's part of the idea is that there's an advantage to every level and every position, right? So when you're a big company, you have the advantage of being a big company. You're probably more well-funded. You can do 25 shoots in a day if someone asks. You have, you know, people always waiting to answer phones. So you have some advantages, right? But you also have disadvantages. It's a bunch of different people that clients have to deal with. You can't be as flexible and as accommodating a lot of times. So you have to lean into your strengths as a one-person show, which, you know, if you think about it, if you put yourself in the shoes of a real estate agent, I think you could argue that it'd be better to work with a solo operator. You like can call or text them, right? It's not some phone system. When you book, you know you're getting Destiny every time. And if they have a question, they're going to go to you, Destiny, for edits. They're going to go to you. You're the one delivering photos. So you always just have to look at, hey, where am I in the game, what position am I in, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of that position? How can I play my strengths to minimize the weaknesses? So those are my thoughts generally to your question, but don't let any of those things stop you, because they're really just a reframe can help you use them to your advantage.
To add, I mean, you literally posted on your story yesterday, 2 days ago, about somebody in coaching who is literally in Dallas and he's killing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so much market potential.
Yeah, and then for let's see, how many, so many outstanding creatives, and you want to stand out from the competition, basically. I mean, just be yourself and don't think of your competition itself. Like, even if you see an agent that's using a photographer, still reach out to them. You never know if that agent is actually sick of their photographer, or if something happened that they just want to switch to somebody else, somebody new. And just the fact and share your story too. I think lean on that. Like, you're a mom of 3. Lean about that you're a family person, and you just wanted to start your own business and you want to grow it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid too much of that.
I love what you said about the lean into your story too. Destiny, everybody has like some background, right? So like, if you think about this, there's probably a ton of real estate agents. It's actually true that majority of real estate agents are female, and a lot of them probably have kids. And so you can relate to them in that way. Like, they also knew what it was like and how hard it was to start a business, right? With the responsibility of those kids. And so what Kenny's saying is you want to lean into your story and share who you actually are. What a lot of people do is they try to start from day one being like this big company. They start saying, we do this and we're the premier service provider, all this BS that no one relates to. Whereas what we recommend and like how we encourage people to look at this process is lean into like what their goals are and where their life is, and share that. There's a guy we love in our community named Eric, and like a big thing, he may be on this live, but a big thing that he even shares to his real estate agents and on his Instagram is like, his goal is to quit Costco, right? He worked at Costco before he started, and he's almost there. He's worked his hours down, but it's like, people in his client base know that like, we got to get Eric out of Costco, right? Like, that's the thing. And like, it's not, we're all smiling because like, we all know it on internally at REPP too. It's like not a joke in our community, but it's like a thing we have fun with, is like, the goal is to get Eric out of Costco. So he like shared a story, and I think he did a really good job with that. And like, a lot of people really lean into that. And so, everybody's gonna have somebody that supports them. And one more thing on this, because I think this is a great question. A lot of people like have those two fears. You just summed them up really well. Is, let's say you're somebody else, you're not a mom of 3, right? You're also going to resonate with a different person. And so just the fact that you are you creates a competitive advantage that no one else can replicate, because you're just going to draw a certain group of people to you, which is cool. All right. Let's see. What do you want to, I'm going to let you handle all the questions, Mr. Rod.
Me? Oh.
If I do the questions, you're going to be like, no, get that one. So I learned that you're the better question picker.
Me? Oh, thank you. Well, I like this one. And hey, Lucas, I remember speaking to Lucas a while ago, so I figured I'd put his question here.
I'm moving to Australia and want to start a real estate media business. What city do you think I should go to? Bigger cities like Sydney or Melbourne, or something smaller like Brisbane? I would go wherever you want to go. Like, think about when you've started your business and your business is starting to become successful, where do you want to live? Because there's going to be advantages and disadvantages of each of those cities. Bigger cities can be maybe a little bit more expensive, maybe a little bit more hard to break into, potentially. But you also might get paid more per order value, and there's more scale. So like, I would not, with options like that. I mean, those are relatively all big cities, right? I would think, where do you want to live? Because like, when everybody starts a business, I don't want to say everybody has a different background, but when a lot of people start a business, it's like, what are we solving? We're solving money. Like, we have a money problem when we're first starting. It's like, that's why a lot of us are driven to start a business. Now, there's other problems. I have a money problem. I want to make more money and I don't like my job. Or I want to have, I have a money problem and I don't like my schedule. Like, whatever it is, you have multiple problems, but really you're solving for money. But that problem, I'm not saying this to like make you think it's just gonna be so easy, but like, you will solve that problem and then other problems will arise, quote unquote problems. You'll make more money than you've ever made if you do it right. And that's good. That's the point of starting a business. But then it's like, your next problem is gonna be like, well, I hate where I live, if you pick the city for only that reason. So from a longevity standpoint, I know I've said this like 3 times, but I would just pick where you want to live and you'll be able to make it work. Don't move to the middle of nowhere, but none of those options are.
They're in North San Diego.
Afro Sweeties. Agents here are still looking to get the cheapest photographer. So I think it's a great point to bring up too. Is I hear a lot of people too worried about like, well, I see people are doing it cheap, so I think your perspective on that is really powerful actually. So that's why I wanted to pick it. I thought it was a good point. So yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. I will just say that's Correct. There are a bunch of agents who do want to only go with the cheapest photographer. And in every market, there are the cheap photographers. We kind of call them the $100 photographer. There's also more expensive photographers, right? So there's like a range. What I would encourage you to think about is when you start a business, I heard this from somebody and I love it. There's really 2 skills when it comes to being successful with the business you're working on. There's being successful operating the business, right? The strategy, the things you do, how you get clients, how you shoot. There's that. And then the number 1, the other skill is actually picking the business you want to be in. And it matters just as much. And so if you think about this from if you step back a little bit, it's like, if you're going to start a real estate media company, you're not going to go, I want to work with the cheap agents. I want to do the cheapest stuff, right? Of course not. And so you have to think about that as a completely different business, because it is. There are literally tens of thousands of real estate agents where you are. Let somebody else serve the cheap ones. You don't need to be that person. And maybe you find yourself, maybe it was an agent you reached out to. You got this thought in your head somehow. Maybe someone told you, maybe a couple of clients. You just have to remember that just because those people are the clients you don't want to work with, don't make that in your head seem like everybody is. Because I know for a fact there are agents who pay thousands of dollars for every listing in Southern California, right? And so it's just a reframe of, yeah, you're doing real estate media, but even break it down more than that. You're not the $100 photographer. I don't think you want to be, at least, right? That wouldn't be like a great strategy to employ. So I would just think about it that way. You absolutely have potential in that market though. And I would not think that's the cheapest. And like Kevin's saying in the chat, Kevin's built a great business. As you all know, he's a member of the REPP team coaching, and he's been on live. So you guys know Kevin. What he said is really important. Give me the middle 80%. You don't really want the cheapest agents, but you also, there's nothing wrong with serving the most expensive agents, but a lot of the money is made in that middle 80% where they have good volume. They're not super picky. It doesn't take forever to do their shoots, and you can crank out a ton of them. So remember that picking your market, even your sub market, which agents you want to work for, really, really important.
Let me see if I can pick one that stumps you. Here we go.
I live in Galway, Ireland. There's a housing crisis here. So a lot of new houses are being built and going on the market. I already do photography and videography. Any advice for breaking into the market? Yeah. Oh, and so you're saying there's a crisis in terms of there's too much supply or there's undersupply and they're trying to build to keep up. Either way, it's roughly the same thing. If a lot of new houses are being built, look for the builders. Those are people who are going to, pay you. But the other thing you keep in mind is you don't need that many clients to have a great business, right? And so don't let the way the market is impact your mindset when it comes to doing the work you need to do. What I mean by that is, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I don't know until you clarify that first thing, Owen. What a lot of people do is they'll hear something about the market being bad and they let that translate to them not doing anything. So you can look for builders, like Stephanie said, builders agents, figure out, because there are houses being sold and listed, figure out who's doing that. And those are the clients that you need ultimately. Yeah. And builders can be great clients. If you want to, we had Jordan on last week. Was that last week Jordan was on? I think it was. We talked a lot about builders. It was great. All right. Pick another one, Mr. Rod. Oh, there's undersupply.
Maybe because it was in Ireland that maybe you might not know it, but yeah, you did.
A house is a house. I used to be like, we only do US. And then I realized when we started helping people all over that it's the same thing. Sure, there's like little differences,
but yeah.
It's like house. If you think about it, like we're all lucky, all of us in real estate media, not just talking about like us three, but like everybody in the comments is doing this. We have like the simplest business on earth. It's like house needs selling, house needs pictures, take pictures, get money, right? Like very simple. And so for that reason, it's, I like simple. What's that quote? Simple scales, all else fails, or something like that. That rhymes. So that's probably the right quote. Anyway, pin me, Rod, pin me. The goal is to sell packages, but there'll always be photo only agents. What's the ideal ratio? Mike, I mean, generally more than 50% you want to work into packages. It is a little bit different for everybody on that number in every market. What I would say is it's more from your perspective, it's better to look at average order value as a measure of that. And so you want to be at least at a $275 average order value. So if you do 100 shoots, you take the total revenue that you made from all those shoots divided by 100, and that gives you a number. That's how you calculate average order value. And that tells you more about the health of your business than anything else. And then the other thing is like, you also want to track the change in that number. So, let's hypothetically say 50% of your clients order packages. Like, well, is that good or bad? I don't know. But if you tell me your average order value is 150, I can tell you it's bad, right? And if it's 400, I can tell you that's pretty good. But that doesn't mean you can't work to improve it. So it's more about measuring the change in that number. Rod's finding his next question.
Rod's really trying.
He is.
I like to
Just
read every
stop.
single one. Here's a cool win. I like this one. It's not a question, but a win.
Soaring Design said I just did my first free shoot last Tuesday. Since then, I've gotten 2 to 3 responses from realtors since. I might be able to get out of my full-time job sooner. Congrats. That's
cool.
awesome. Let those wins make you really keep reaching out hard, because there'll be ups and downs. You'll have like a ton respond, and then you'll have weeks where nobody does in that interim. So use that. It's like the quote we talked about last time. It's Mr. West is smiling. These people smiling make me think of something's wrong in my background. Anyway,
I'm just reading Stephanie's comment.
oh, yeah. Anyway.
The comments are really fun to read the whole time, actually.
Hit me
And
with another one. Hit Kenny with another one. I'm losing my voice over here.
I mean, I'll just pick.
It'd be so funny.
A lot of times,
the hardest question, and Kenny was like, "I have no idea."
A lot of times, my answer to all of them is get coaching, but I can't say that to everyone.
Get coaching. Live
Well,
and
this is
live
for in general.
Can't get clients. Any tips?
I've seen this question a few times, so I figured we can go.
Yeah.
Over it.
I have questions to that
Kind of hard
question because
like it could be a million things that they could
yeah,
do
that's what I was gonna
to
say. Like,
make it clients. It's like I wonder, instead of maybe doing something different, it could be a fix something that we're doing, and until we really dissect, what that is, it's hard to know. So over Cuba, I don't know. Let me know what your name is, but I don't know if you've spoken to our team before about how we help people here, or if you haven't yet. But that would be a good thing that usually we go over with people in one-on-one calls to really get an idea of where they're at with their business and what could be happening. So this is not a random coaching plug. Well, I guess kind of it is, but I think it is sometimes us saying a blanketed answer might not necessarily pertain exactly to your business. And that's when we get on one-on-one calls and actually can really see that. So I don't know if you have the link, Eli.
I do,
but over Cuba, that would be a good thing to like chat with the team about, get an idea, where you're at with the business, how we can help.
What questions did you have, Kenny, for over?
Well, I mean, like exactly what Rod was saying, like, how are your photos? How are you reaching out? How's your Instagram profile? Like all of those little things. Like, do you have packages? How's your pricing? So a lot of those things that Rod is basically asking for you to just jump on a call with somebody so we can dissect all of that would be very helpful, because it could honestly be a lot of things that we just need to fix. Maybe you're already doing, but a little tweaking doesn't help, or it does help. It doesn't hurt. That's what I was trying to say.
Well, and binge watch all of my videos here on YouTube. That'll give you a good idea of like different things that you can apply. What's next for us, Rod? I sometimes think Rod's frozen when he's speaking the question. Like he's so still, it looks like a wax rod sometimes.
I just hope that maybe you think I'm just frozen for a second.
I mean, I do. I get a little like slight bit of adrenaline. I'm like, does he? He's picking.
He does it so good.
All that time just to pick the newest question.
I know, right? I didn't think you noticed. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Should my Instagram profile be a personal profile or a business profile? If you're talking about like the profile type, it doesn't really matter. I don't think, right, Kenny?
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't really matter if you're talking about like what to post. I would say a mix of both, but mainly your portfolio, and then switch it up with you, some type of photo that includes you in it, shooting a house or doing something relating to your business. So I wouldn't say like too personal. Like I like cars, so here's a whatever car I like, and I took a photo of it. Like keep your Instagram pretty professional in the sense of like just showing your portfolio pieces, and then a few photos of you,
behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we have to pin this one. Joe, 3 years ago, I started my real estate media company. I just closed out 2024 at $240,000 as a solo shooter. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your program and support. Joe, congratulations. You made my day with that one.
Very nice.
Awesome. 240
20K a month average as a solo shooter. Well done.
Joe, what's your plan for the future? Are you just enjoying the money, or are you going to scale, or what's your plan? That's amazing. All right, let's see. Everybody's congratulating Joe. Yeah, that's crazy. 20K a month average is solid, because for everybody that's newer, you have to factor in that November, December, and January are going to be a little slower. So that means a lot of months he also made more than 20K, which is crazy. It's awesome. That's like fully max as a solo, unless you're in like a crazy market. 70 said January is almost 7K for me. Now I have 0 shoots scheduled for the rest of the month. I'm in coaching, took a small break for personal stuff. Help.
Reach out. That's what I would say. Like, jump on
Yeah.
the phones, talk to your VIP clients, send them a text just saying like, hey, I appreciate working with you, or I love working with you. Whenever it's like, I'm here. I don't know. I always just think just reaching out to all of your clients.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I got
No, go for
another
it.
idea, and I was just not listening to you talking, Mr. West,
You're good.
at all. I'm very sorry.
No,
Stephanie, I mean, a couple things. Reach out to Brad for sure. But I would say like the biggest thing is it's 6 days in. That you're just in that revenue range where it can be like, you know, hit or miss for a little period. So January being 7K is solid. January is a slow month, right? And so I would say like be proactive about what you can do to, you know, see what's going on and work on getting more clients, stuff like that. But also just know that like probably tomorrow you're going to get some bookings and it will fill out. It's just this ebb and flow that happens.
The law of averages will kick in.
Law of averages, yeah.
But I love what Kenny brings up too as well, as far as like a lot of things are solved by just reaching out to the agents. You know, it's like, what can I do better? Ask the agent. Hey, how can I serve you better? You know, and just going above, and it shows, you know, to the agent what, you know, that side, but it just goes straight to the source. So yeah, I like when you said that, Kenny. All right,
Stephanie, just for your perspective, there's always like reasons when that happens too. So like January, there's kind of like a flood of like a mini flood of listings because people waited to list after the holidays. So maybe that you rode that wave and now it's like those are done, but it's not quite busy season yet. So I just know I've seen this so many times. Don't get scared yet. It'll come back. Yeah.
I think they're asking the price.
What's on offer if we join? Owen, clarify a little bit more what you're asking as far as how coaching goes.
Asking price. I
okay.
think.
Yeah, we have different programs depending on what level in the business you're at and what you're looking to accomplish. So that's why we do the call-based stuff, because we can really break it down. Because we have Forward, which is for more advanced people. There's different levels in that. We have our launch program and different stuff like that. So it depends on like what you've already done. If you have any other context to add, Rod, go for it.
Yeah, that's like the stuff that you know, we hop on the call, we go over, give you the information. That way you can start comfortably deciding if it's for you. So
he's asking what's involved.
Price, man, I'm just assuming price over here. He's asking price.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was off.
What's involved? I also don't want to give you another terrible answer of like, it depends, but it depends on where you're at. So like, I'll talk about launch specifically, which is for people just starting. Launch is how our programs work generally is we think there's multiple things you need to be successful, at least quickly, or like that I wish I would have had, right? And so there's a checklist that basically shows you week by week. We do 6-month programs because we think that's a great amount of time to get a good amount of stuff done. So it shows you week by week, like what to do every week and, you know, what stuff you need to learn. Because if you're starting from zero, you obviously have to learn everything. So there's like a checklist and curriculum element. We have group calls every single weekday. It's some guest coaches, people like Kevin, who's not really a guest coach
a day
on our team, but what's that?
2 or 3 a day sprinkled throughout the day. Which
yeah. That's why I said every single day, but there's multiple days. So there's group calls. You have a one-on-one coach that you meet with. Kind of depends, usually on average every other week, but maybe it's a little bit more at the start if you're working through stuff. And that's like the big picture of what it looks like. And so it's always oriented around like where you want to take your business and what the result is. And that's kind of how we do things. So I hope that answers your question a little bit, but yeah, I mean, feel free to chat with the team, obviously. replaunch.com/apply. Good question, Benjamin. You want to hit that one, Kenny?
It's never a good time to delay something that you're planning on doing because you think that it's going to work better at a certain time. If it's slow season, start now and reach out to those clients because it's also slow season for them, which means that during busy season, they're going to be reaching out to you. And if it's busy season, then still reach out to them because they're already working, so they need somebody. So summarize everything, I would just start now and don't think about starting later.
Yeah, good advice. And there's not really like stuff you have to a lot of, and I'm not saying this to like put you down at all, Benjamin, so don't take it this way, but when people say like I'm waiting to launch, I'm like, dude, launch. Like you're launched today. Now that means you have to start the work, right? And this is probably what you're saying, but like you have to learn how to shoot photos, videos, that kind of stuff, set up your systems. You can do that remarkably fast if someone books a shoot with you. I always get asked this from newer people in my group calls. They're like, Eli, you know, I finished my Spiro, which is the website system that we recommend. They're like, I got that set up, but I don't know how to shoot video yet. Should I put it on my order form or should I wait until I learn? And I'm like, no one's going to book it. Put it on your order form because I know that someone's going to book it, right? So I'm not lying to them, but I'm also like trying to help them in the right direction. And my favorite thing is they come back to, I see them on a group call. They ask their coach, they're like, somebody booked my biggest package next week. I'm like, well, guess who's going to figure it out now? Awesome. And they always do. They always figure it out. It's like everybody says like, oh, I'm a procrastinator. Like that's some like illness they have. Like, welcome to everybody. Everybody procrastinates, just at different levels. And what you know about yourself if you procrastinate is you have a superhuman ability to get stuff done when you're close to the deadline. And so if you're like, I'll put it on there in the future, there's no deadline. And what the hack that you actually learn is you got to learn how to set deadlines for yourself so you can unlock that like superhuman, I got to get this done thing, right? And so I love it when someone books sooner. So my goal for you, Benjamin, is that I would love it if, it's Thursday right now. If you had a shoot on Monday, I guarantee you'd be ready enough for that shoot on Monday. Whereas if you didn't, you're probably still not going to be ready. And so just for everybody else that's like not in their first shoot thing, like set deadlines for yourself. If you're at 15K a month and you've been saying for 3, 6, 9 months or 3 years, like Chris said, I'm not going to say his last name, but he needed to set a deadline, right? He needed to say, hey, I will hire by this point. And because he didn't, he kept kind of pushing it off and finding excuses. And so you don't want to do that. You want to hire the second you're ready, or whatever your goal is. You want to start reaching out. Like, it's not, oh, I'm going to get ready, I'm going to start reaching out next week. No. Monday, you're going to have sent 10 messages, right? I'm not saying that like rudely or like dictating you how to do it. I'm saying that's what I do for myself. Is like, I need to set a deadline. Okay.
Man, you made me remember things that I need to do. So that I don't know. I feel like running through a wall now.
Kevin's thing is so prime, right?
I like what Kevin said too. Like, oh wait, he would get the shoot, go buy the gear for the shoot, right?
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's the best way to do that. Hopefully they pay up front too, because then you get the money, you go buy the gear. It's like a perfect,
even better. You remind me some. Oh, with the ramp up question, going back to that, like there's a lot of stuff you could be doing now that will allow the high season to hit harder. The goal is, what do you do now to make that high season hit bigger? And if starting now, getting things going now will allow it. So when the height of the busy season's hitting, you're already established, things are set up, you're rolling.
Yeah.
So I like that. The answer is always start now. Get going now. It's always going to be bigger then. The then that we're talking about will be bigger the sooner we start. So, what's your name again? S197. I know what it is, and it's bugging me that I can't remember. I know we memorize business names, usernames, and names, but S197. Let me know what your name is again. I think it's. I can't remember. But this is a good question.
To answer the question, you don't need to notice period. You can just raise your prices. Honestly, don't feel the need to do any sort of notice. Real quick on this one, I booked a call and was rejected because of my region. What region are you in? First of all, but second of all,
they're in Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Almost in Nigeria.
Yeah. So unfortunately, like we don't want to waste your time. Some markets, there's just not a market for real estate media. So, you can look around and see, but we've just found that the way we do coaching isn't going to work in that area. And so we don't want to waste your time with that.
Yeah.
So sorry
and
about
Lagos is good. And Puma, I know you were asking about Lagos. Lagos is good, as far as real estate market from what I was looking. I remember we looked at that a while ago. It's just our coaching program itself is not familiar with the area. So we would hate to be like, yeah, we can help you and not be able to, but just indulging in the free content here on YouTube, I would say is the biggest thing you could do now. Just in anything you're wondering, go and search it in YouTube and in our channel. And
not saying you can't make it work. We're just saying that we don't want, part of our launch coaching is we have a guarantee. And so we only take areas where we're confident in our ability to deliver that with you. Cool. All right. What's the next one, Mr. Rod? How often do real estate agents just want photos versus also wanting virtual tours? And what should I charge for just photos? Carson, so it depends. It depends on how well you sell the other stuff, your market, everything like that. So I'm not sure if you're here for this, but I was talking about average order value earlier. What you really want to measure is what your average shoot gets you paid. So on average, you want $275 or more, $275. As far as what to charge for just photos, you want to get a ballpark idea on what your other people are charging in your market. I'm not saying just copy your competitors and underprice them. That's not a good strategy, but it would be a shame for me to tell you one price if you were in Southern California versus if you were in Ohio. And so like our process when we work with somebody in coaching is we have this form they fill out and they look at competitors and different prices and it kind of helps them. I would say one thing you could do though, is you could look at our pricing at Norman & Young and just copy that to start. That's a good starting point. It only will go up from there typically as markets get more expensive. We're in a less expensive area.
Shout out Andrew in Australia, by the way. Hey, Andrew.
Just did an auction shoot, which goes for 1 hour, but the product is a 1 minute reel. Should I charge the same as a 1 minute video? What do you mean, Andrew? I'm trying to figure out what an auction shoot, which goes for an hour. What do you mean? Like the video is an hour? Or I guess tell me what they asked you to produce, and then we'll go from there.
I think he's going to an event and he's going to shoot it, and they want a vertical video. So he's probably wondering, like, should I charge what I normally charge for a reel, or should I charge as a normal video? Or should it be higher because it takes more time on location? Yeah, so I think it's like, I think he has an event and it's going to go for an hour, and so he's going to be shooting the event.
Gotcha. Yes, Andrew. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Oh, like should he charge for the video for his time?
Kenny's smart is the reality.
Yeah, he is. Good stuff, Kenny.
We read it and we're like, huh? Yeah, Andrew, I would charge a little bit more. I mean, you could charge the same for the reel. Like, let's say you charge $200 and you could just add on another $100 for your time on site or something like that.
Yeah.
But you also have to balance it with, if it's a client you're trying to win, like you could be a little bit more flexible.
True.
I was not setting deadline to push new levels besides being part-time. I was laid off on Monday, 8:30 a.m. from my IT job. So new deadline was set up about 5 minutes after that. Well, sorry to hear that, but also that's the start of a lot of awesome stories. Not to say it's going to be easy, but not giving you a piece of advice is unrelated, but always keep in mind that I think a lot of people, not saying for you specifically, but they'll get laid off, or they'll have a job change and they'll be like, well, I'm going to just make it full time. And then a couple of weeks later, they're not making enough money and they have to go back and get a job. And they think of that as a failure. Like, I think a job is awesome because it facilitates your ability to build this business without being in fear the whole time. And so if you have to, for anybody that feels like that's a step back, I don't think about it as a step back as much as it is a step that allows you to step forward. So just something to keep in mind. It's kind of like a badge of honor in our community when people quit their job, which I think it should be. But I think sometimes people quit their job just to get that badge when it wasn't the best decision for them. So I'm a big believer in it's going to give you a lot of motivation. I just know there's Kevin in here. He quit his job and he just sent it and made it happen. Now he's a smart guy. He had some savings. He's a very driven guy who's able to make it work. If I was in that situation, I would have probably been like, I don't like having low money. That scares me. I just don't perform well. And so I like to have money coming in. I like to be doing good in that sense. And so for me, you get to pick. You either get to pick money problems or workload problems. And for me, I'm like, well, I'll just work a ton. I'd rather have a full-time job and have to grind after hours and know that I was going to have plenty of money versus too little. You have to know you. So for everybody that's kind of thinking about that, that's why I always say, because it's coming from my perspective, which is kind of what we all share, right? My perspective is I would rather replace my income on the side and just work more and then quit than the opposite. You have to decide what's right for you, though.
Destiny sold on real estate media. she said, honestly, out here, I've never used a camera and an iPhone convinced me that I could learn how to do this. I have the drive. That's enough. This industry excites me. And her current question right now. So we can do both.
First of all,
it was perfect timing because I just picked her question as you were talking about her. So
most people, Destiny, that start this didn't. Well, first of all, nobody's born a photographer, right? So it's just about when you got experience. And so I would say it's interesting. We have a good mixture of people who have been photographers and just looking for a good avenue to make money, and people that like cameras kind of, but just want to make money. And there's not a clear winner in who does better, right? Sure, the photographers have a little bit more experience coming in because they know how to work a camera and stuff like that. But I mean, I would argue that a lot of times the people that are most successful, people like Edwin Sandoval come to mind. He was like, I've never got editing software. He didn't know, respectfully, he had no idea what he was doing, right? And that was an asset to him because he just did he followed the playbook, right? He was in coaching and he just crushed it. And he has a great business now. And so don't think anybody that you're at a disadvantage because you're not a lifelong photographer. I would argue that you could actually be at an advantage because sometimes photographers are a little tough to deal with. They're set in their ways, they got their way of doing things.
Watch the videos we have on YouTube. You'll learn how to shoot. We have full on walkthroughs in there. So you got this. Now for your question.
I remember she's in East Bay area in California.
Okay. Yeah.
Which let me look at you. I'll look it up real quick while you go over it.
But Stephanie said, Destiny, I'm 3 years in. I haven't even finished all the original videos. Talking about the videos in the training, I make 6 figures. Nice. Thanks for sharing that, Stephanie. Okay, I now unclicked the question that Destiny actually asked, and I don't know where it is. So if anybody knows,
Basically, how we figure out, what an AOV
oh,
potentially could be
Destiny,
in
yeah. So
a
all you
given
do
area.
is
And
in your
San
area,
Francisco, I
not
think
technically.
I think that's San Francisco Bay Area.
That's
Pardon
what I
my
was thinking.
ignorance of
East Bay.
geography. I think
Yeah.
that's San Francisco area. I think.
So to answer the question about how you'll figure it out for your area, Destiny, a lot of it is you just look at competitors and how they're pricing and you start there. Not start by undercutting. Like I'm talking about starting there. That's going to give you a good idea of what the market will bear. Now, I just know if we're talking about the Bay Area, if the East Bay is the San Francisco Bay Area, your average order value, you should be able to push easily over 600 and probably a lot more than that. So you're in a solid market. Now, obviously, San Francisco is expensive to live in. I think East Bay is a little cheaper. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I think the whole area is expensive now, but so you're making more, but also you have the cost of living. So everybody that's like, oh, it's not, like, what about me in Ohio? Well, first of all, you can move, but second of all, houses are also $40 in Ohio. And so it always kind of balances in a market, right? Where you get paid more, but it also costs more to live. I have 4 years of experience and I'm moving to another city. Should I start my own business or should I try to get hired by an established photographer? What do you think, Mr. West?
I would say start your own business. I mean, who do we have? I'm forgetting his name. You know who I'm talking about. We had him 2 weeks ago. He moved to a different city like 4 months in his business in his current market, and then he moved to another market and he killed
Chris
it.
Malone.
Yes, Chris
Malone.
Malone. Yeah. So watch that if you haven't. He shared his story, but like I would definitely start your own business. I mean, like you're just gonna be helping somebody else build their business rather than yourself. And if you're planning on doing that at some point, somewhere in the future when you move, I would just start as soon as you move, or even before. Actually, start creating your Instagram, start reaching out, start like preparing yourself for that. When you get there, you're ready to go.
Agreed. Destiny, there's a ton of other content on my YouTube too. So just you're in that new phase, like soak it in. When I was starting, there was just not that much info out there. And so like, man, I wish I had not like making my channel out to be the best thing ever, but like if I would have had that, I would have been so much ahead. And so just take advantage of that. I think a lot of people assume because it's free, it's not great, but like, sure, we have coaching. We'd love to work with you in that when it makes sense for you, but make sure you want to do this first, make sure you know what the industry looks like and like get a handle on it and be like, I want to hit the ground. Cause when you get in coaching, you're gonna hit the ground running and you're going to go. So you want to make sure you actually want to do this industry first. What's up, Nate? My first time touching a camera was my first shoot. Now you have, I don't know the specific numbers, but an incredible business. So it's awesome. All right. 2 more questions.
Ooh, 2? No pressure.
God,
I don't want to pick them now. I don't want to
pick
them. I don't want the
You
pressure.
have to pick them, Mr. Rod. He's pending. We need like a loading wheel. Rod actually does thoughtfully pick the questions.
Well, now that it's only 2. All right, give me 15 more and I feel better. I'm just kidding.
You know what the problem is? Back when we used to do the lives, we have like different people in the rep team on, but man, some people want to do the questions in order. And I'm like, sometimes they're just not good questions. You got to skip, respectfully to the person who's commented. It's not a good question. But
it was never me. I will say that.
Yeah. If you pick a bad question, it also disrespects the entire audience. So no pressure, Rod. Don't disrespect all 96 people.
What was awesome? Let me see if I'm missing.
It's got to be good, Rod.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, that's good. Just good.
Hi, gentlemen. I have a meeting with a broker, and he offered me all of his office shoots. He pays his current photographer $30 less than my minimum order. Any tips on getting a larger minimum package? Austin, yeah, good question. Have you had a chance to sit down with them? Oh, I have a meeting with a broker, or maybe you already had it. I mean, you always want to. I'll answer like there's kind of 2 questions, or at least the way I'm going to take it is, you should do the math and see if it still makes profit. Because if it makes profit and you can hire somebody to do it, I don't know how busy you are, you can make sense of it. And also if you're not busy, you can make sense of it because at least it gets shoots on your schedule. So I would look at that. But I would just generally, it's a good idea to have a conversation with them about what they're wanting. We talk about this in the sense of Kenny's dogs are having a fiasco in there. We talk about this in the sense of like, you need to speak broker with broker deals, which is what this is. And like, what does the broker want? They probably just, price is important, but you can also have conversation with them about what do they want, as the base of marketing? Like, do they want floor plans to all their listings? So you really just got to have a conversation and talk with them more about what they're looking for. Now, if he's paying his current photographer for everything $30 less than your base package, there may be too big of a delta there. The bridge is far from land, as they say. But really, with those, you want to have a conversation with them. Part of our strategy for more advanced business owners is brokerage deals, and there's just more that goes into those. One more, Mr. Rod. One more. How often do you film videos for clients, and do y'all do drone fly-throughs? Yeah, Carson, I mean, a good amount. I would say like probably 20-30% of our orders are video. Some people do way more than that. It just depends on how much you push it and what market you're in. We don't do the drone fly-throughs inside, though, if that makes sense. We don't do like if you're talking about that where it like flies through the house, we don't do that. We just do the regular videos. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. If you're newer, hopefully the start gave you some good insight into your market. Definitely, if you have any specific questions about your market, there'll be a link, or it's not like a clickable link. It's just replaunch.com/apply on the next page here. That's a big portion of what we do on the call, is figure out like what you're looking to accomplish. Because if you're like, I want to make 40 grand a month within 4 months, like, sorry, like we can't help you. Maybe you can do that, but it's not like the standard. And so we got to look at what you're looking to accomplish. We got to look at your area and make sure that the market you're in can actually support this, because especially if you're in our launch side of things, we have a guarantee associated with that. And so we need to be able to back up, what we tell you. And so if you're in an area with 30 people, it's like not going to work. And so we can get creative with you and look at different markets and give you some options. So just know that, you can book in. Obviously, we'll talk to you about coaching and what that looks like for you specifically. But we're not like a high pressure boiler room type business. That's not the business I want to run. I believe in, helping and giving value first. That's why I do all this free stuff. And I want you to be like, hey, I'm wanting to make this happen. I just want help. And I want a roadmap where, I'm not making all the mistakes that I personally made when I started, right? Doing all the wrong stuff. So once you're like, hey, I know, I want to be in this industry, what we help you do is streamline that. And part of that starts with making sure it's going to work in your area. So we don't bite. Grab a time to chat with us. Even if you're like, hey, I don't want to do it right now, like chat with us. That's what we're here for. And we appreciate your time tonight. It's cool that we get to spend time. And I like real estate media. It's obviously unbiased. It's changed my life, but I think it's a cool industry. And so I never thought when I was first starting, I would get to help other people make this happen, because I was trying to figure it out myself. So thanks for the opportunity to do that. And Philippe is awesome, by the way. So thanks for the shout out to him.
Yeah. And if you guys have ever spoken to, whether it's Philippe or Derek or Lisa or Isaac or Christy or Nicole or Andrew or Aaron or myself, or Allie. Oh my gosh!
Rod,
now I'm
blanking.
blanking.
You're forgetting someone.
Oh my gosh! I'm not going to sleep tonight. But no, we have a lot of people on the front lines with our team that I just listed out that you've spoken to. And if you've spoken to them before, give them a shout out in the chat. We really do love that. We talk about it in our meetings. Like, look, you got a shout out. I'm gonna let Philippe know he got a shout out from Afro.
Nicole too.
Nicole. So yeah, hop on the call with us, and if you ever talk to one of us, give us a shout out here in the chat, because we love seeing it. So.
Also, Rod, we're smiling because Rod likes to test his ability to list off our team without forgetting anybody, which I am too scared to do, because I think I just struggle to remember names in a list like that. So
I did it right. I that was everybody. I didn't miss nobody.
You're going to pay for it later. If not, they're all watching. So
that's right.
Anyway. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here shortly. Have a good one.